Like it or not, scuds are a popular stillwater prey item, especially in productive waters, because they grow trout big really fast. But you don't need a complicated pattern. Let me show you my friend Bob's Bubba Gump shrimp works as a microleech and really performs as a scud imitation. Hello everyone, I'm Phil Rowley and welcome to my YouTube channel and my fly tying bench. If you've been here before, thanks for dropping by once again. If you've never watched one of my videos, I provide fly tying and fly fishing video content that I hope makes your next day on the water just that little bit more successful. Today I'm going to show you how to tie my good friend Bob's Bubba Gump shrimp. This fly was originally designed as a microleech pattern, but its simple, suggestive nature does an excellent job when trout are focused on scuds. It doesn't really look like a scud to us, but it certainly fills the bill for trout. So join me, I'll show you how to tie this simple but deadly little fly.
So let's tie Bob's Bubba Gump shrimp. We're tying this on a size 14 jig hook, a Daiichi 4640. You could probably tie this as big as a 12. You might even be able to squeeze it down to a 16. For the bead, I'm using a tungsten head turner bead, gold 7/64. This is a kind of a teardrop shaped, and you'll notice I've slid the bead on so that the concave side is facing the hook eye, so it pushes forward over the return on the hook eye there and leans forward. This will allow you to fish this fly in a typical cast and retrieve fashion, or if you attach this Bubba Gump shrimp via a clinch knot, you can suspend it horizontally in a balanced fashion as well. So very adaptable. For our tying thread, we're just going to use some olive, UTC 70 in this case. Just get that started. Trim away our excess. I'm going to come back forward and just take a few seconds to really get that bead positioned properly on the hook, so it's pushed forward and locked in place. And then we're going to go down and put a good thread base around to give some traction for our materials. So this fly is really a variation of a pattern you can already see on my website called the Kismet. Check the links in the description below. But this one's been sort of modified. It's kind of a micro leech scud hybrid. So the first material we're going to use for the tail is a little tuft of black marabou, which you may think is like, okay, scuds are olive and there's no black ones, but it provides nice contrast, and of course you could certainly use some olive marabou for the tail. And we're just going to tie this in all the way along the top of the shank. Notice how I'm lifting up. This keeps this in conjunction with the thread pressure, keeps the material on top of the hook and it doesn't twist around on you. And we're just going to come in and we're going to pinch this tail so it's about half the shank length. So I'm going to come in with my right thumb and forefinger and hold it and use my left thumb and forefinger to pinch. And I got a nice little stubby tail there. For the body, it's a body that features a hot spot. So the main portion of the body is this brill in olive. It's got UV olive. And then the hot spot can be either sunburst orange, or in this case we're going to use more of a regular fluorescent orange, just to suggest either a pregnant scud or a scud that's been infected with a parasite called acanthocephalan. So a touch of orange is always good for scud patterns to imitate those features, and rainbow trout in particular just seem to like a little orange in their flies. So let's give it to them. So we're just going to tie this brill in by the core right at the base of the tail, like so. Get a good purchase in there. Advance our tying thread up to the midpoint, just forward of that hook point, and then we're just going to go around. We're going to get one good wrap around the tail, and then I'm going to really start to pull on it. So I'm going to pull and use my left thumb and forefinger to stroke those materials back. So just pull and stroke, and work that right up to where the tying thread is. Probably go one more wrap. Then I'm going to come up, hold it on about a 45-degree angle, and I'm just going to advance that tying thread forward a little bit just to lock that down, but we're not trimming it off. We're just going to let that hang forward. And then I've got a little length of, short length of that fluorescent orange for our midpoint hotspot. And we're just going to tie that in and put about 2 to 3 wraps of this material right in the midsection. So again, get that first initial wrap, and you've got it sort of wrapped around the shank. It's not going to pull out. Now you can give it a good tug to really tighten them up. So there's 2 wraps and 3 wraps. Come up, tie that off. 2 wraps across the top, fold it back, secure that down. Come in with your scissors, trimming on top to stay away from the thread. Trim that off. Now we're going to take that olive strand rather, and just push that back, and then advance our tying thread forward right up to the rear of the bead, and then just come in, put a turn. Again, that full turn around. Now I can really pull on it. Make sure I've got good tight wraps, left thumb and forefinger, stroking those fibers back and winding that right up tight against the back of the bead to, again, further push and reinforce it against the hook eye. And then we're just going to come up when we're there, a couple wraps over the top, pull everything back, a couple wraps to lock it off, trim away our excess. Then we're going to come in with some brushable super glue and put a little coating on the thread, and use that thread to carry the super glue right into the tie-off area with minimal risk of matting any of those brill fibers down. And then just to finish this simple fly off, about a 3 to 4 turn whip finish, and you're done. Come in and trim. Got a couple errant fibers there that are driving me crazy, so we'll get rid of those. But that's basically the Bubba Gump shrimp. We could come in with a little brush if we want and just brush it out a little bit to free up some of those strands, but usually a few false casts will take care of that. But dead simple. Can be fished as a micro leech, can be fished cast and retrieve, hung under an indicator, suggestive pattern. This fly will work anywhere you've got trout feeding on scuds. Simple to do, simple to tie. Add a few to your fly box.